No, that headline is not playing tricks with you. Lewis Hamilton is going to be a Ferrari driver. It's a break glass in case of emergency podcast here at Motorsport 101.
Here to tell you all right now, you can blame one Andre Harrison for this.
Yeah, it's all Dre's fault.
He got up there on the most recent episode of M101 with his full chest out going, look, guys, we got the big scoop. Andretti isn't making F1. And we got it before the podcast episode.
Yeah, that's right.
We didn't miss the big news announcement.
He went on Elon's funny House of Microblogs and decided, right, job's done, mission accomplished. We have compromised to a permanent end all the F1 news for the week.
And then
Will Buxton, Dre's good buddy Billy Butts, decided to tease something out of the blue, and we all thought, right, this wasn't going to happen. This is nothing. This is just going to be some nonsense.
He's hyping up some silly sponsorship deal for the Madrid race years from now.
Yeah, the full Fabrega. No. I was wrong. I have never been more wrong in the 400 plus episodes I've hosted of this podcast. I could not have been more wrong on this occasion. And that's what's led to this. Hey, everybody, I'm Dre Harrison. Apparently, I used to host this podcast every once in a while before it was hijacked by my regular co-hosts who decided to roast me on this one. And to be fair, I kind of deserved it on this occasion.
Categorically.
Me and my big mouth. It's like the episode of Top Gear where they're trying to find the greatest driving road. Clarkson says Italy, and then it turns out it's full of traffic, and then my co-hosts just start roasting me. It's just like, what do you thought Italy would be the place, you big dumb bastard, etc.
And as it turns out, it's all in Switzerland. Hey, do we know somebody that may have lived in Switzerland a while ago that's pertinent to this discussion?
Might do. As you can tell, I'm Dre Harrison, Cam Buckley and RJ O'Connell are here, but we've also managed to break forth and break the emergency button, and our fourth beloved co-host is here as well, Mr. Ryan Eric King from Jalopnik. Hello, King. How's it going, big man?
Yeah, I've descended down from the blog towers to stop posting about doors blowing off airliners and garbage truck moon landings to talk about a more serious problem we have at hand.
Is it a big climb down from the big house of blogs?
Oh, it's a big climb. They don't pay for it. They don't pay for an elevator over there, so I got to take the stairs.
Oh. I was going to say, it was a bit like, I thought it was such a big blog of towels. It'll be so high up, it would look like King has descended from the heavens itself to bless this holy podcast with his presence. Because what the hell has the last 48 hours been in the world of Formula One?
Let's cut to the chase. Lewis Hamilton is going to Ferrari next year.
Yeah. This rocked everybody's world yesterday at the time of recording.
This is not part of the entertainment.
No, this is a real thing. This has very much happened. So much so when I recorded the intro, RJ almost spat out his Gatorade. It's still in shock as to how this has all gone down.
Now, see, I was doing a planned spit take at this for comedic effect.
Of course you were.
Because the real spit take came with the news drop that this was actually going to happen.
Now, all the credit in the world to Formula Uno in Italy, who were the first to break this the night before.
Maybe not.
I ain't giving them credit.
King's like, nah, they're not serious.
No,
hey,
this is one of those the Italian motorsport media actually hit on something
for once.
So
Go on,
it was. The way I've had it described to me, Formula Uno spotted something. More serious Italian outlets looked into it, found information at Ferrari that, yes, Lewis Hamilton is coming. And then that provoked questions in Britain.
Yeah,
that's when it came loose.
I went to bed with Formula Uno publishing their version of the story and thinking, it's just another story, and I went to bed. I woke up 9 a.m. the following morning, and I'm like, Jonathan Noble's run this, and I'm like, oh shit, this is real. Oh goddamn! And by 7 p.m. that night, Sky and F1 had put their entire TV crew together in Brentford and had a live show. And you know it was serious because it wasn't geo-blocked for once.
That's right.
The whole world
all got
this.
it.
We all got it. And
Now, again, it's usually geo-blocked because they're sharing images they don't have the rights to everywhere. That's
right. That hasn't stopped them before, King. Trust me on this. But yeah, they got the whole crew together, and by 7 p.m., Mercedes dropped the official statement that Lewis Hamilton was parting ways with Mercedes at the end of the 2024 season, followed momentarily by a big red background with a yellow prancing horse logo that said Lewis Hamilton is joining Ferrari in 2025.
On a multi-year contract.
On a multi-year contract, and then 2 minutes later, Carlos Sainz put out a statement of his own saying, "Oh, I guess I'm
punished
chopped liver."
Carlos, punished Sainz.
Yeah, the statement that basically read, "Guys, I'm not giving up. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna find something. Please don't leave me.
Don't let the sun go down on me."
And that's very much how this is playing out, and obviously all the media world has exploded since then. You know, it's wild when even Apple News have posted the story that Lewis Hamilton is leaving Mercedes. Nothing to do with the executive producer role he's got in a movie coming up this year, but no. But
you know, I was there for the filming of that movie. Well, this is partial filming of that movie. Damn.
It was fun.
You know, it was big news when, like, Sky Sports is going into their football transfer deadline day coverage and leading it with this. You know, it's big when, like, managers of other sports clubs are talking about this offhandedly in their post-game remarks.
And for Tottenham, Andrew Postecoglou at Tottenham was like, yeah, we had a big deadline day signing potentially come in, and it was really disappointed, didn't quite work out, but he's gone to Ferrari instead. And all the journos were primed on the keyboards, ready to go, and it's like, oh, he's had us.
This is the nicest thing we'll say about Tottenham Hotspur on purpose.
Oh, 100%, without question. So I want to know, as just as the fans that we all are deep down, what was your initial reaction or thought when the news first where was the moment that your brain realized, shit, this is real?
Who wants to go first?
I will say the first thing I thought when I saw this is that Lewis Hamilton sat in the W15 for 5 minutes and said, "I've had enough."
Because that was one of the last photos that Mercedes posted, was Lewis getting a seat fit in the W15.
It was the prior day.
Yeah.
Like, he got out of that car, sat in a dark room for 2 hours, and goes, "I got to call Ferrari back."
What about you, King? Because you're a bit more plugged in.
I realized it was real when I woke up the day of. I go on to Twitter, and I see the Sky Sports vignette of one of the reporters out in Brackley saying, "Mercedes have told the team that Lewis is leaving." And that's like, if it got to that level where, you know,
legit.
There's no deniability at this point. If you tell all your employees, yeah, he's leaving. I don't have to wait for an official statement.
Yeah, having a company-wide meeting of, he's gone.
Yeah. Just to let you all know, imagine gathering the forces around Brexit. Just to let you all know, our star driver and the big reason behind our brand is leaving at the end of the year. Bye, guys. Have a great day. Could you imagine?
How do you go back to your office and have a good day after that?
No,
you just don't.
No, how do you interact with Lewis after that point? Because he's not leaving this season. He's leaving next season.
He's doing the Derek Jeter retirement tour, but not really retiring. It's really weird.
This is a throwback to the days of Montoya's leaving for McLaren a year early, Alonso's leaving for McLaren. I haven't seen this in a while. I think when word first got to through reputable sources in the biz and the English language media, that's when I realized, oh, damn, this might be actually happening. Oh my God. We were so upset that we got no silly season movement at all this year. And then racing guys
Ambassador Pineapple showed up to blow it all to smithereens.
Dude.
It's like the racing gods were like, not again, Junior.
Silly season, more like we've been committed to an institution season.
If someone last week told me this was going to happen, I'd be like, "You're crazy."
If someone told you 48 hours ago this was happening, they'd be like, "You're crazy."
Because that's just it. Because Lewis just signed a contract extension with Mercedes last year and has already activated his exit clause.
5 months, almost to the day since it was announced he'd signed the extension, right before the Italian Grand Prix. Well, that was only 5 months ago where he signed what we thought was a 2-year deal, but it turns out it was a 1+1 with a release clause in the middle of it, which he could activate to get out in 2024, which is what Lewis activated and triggered and told Toto over breakfast earlier this week.
I really thought this was going to be the last contract Lewis Hamilton ever signed as a Formula One driver. I genuinely thought that.
I did too. I really did. Honestly, with Lewis, he's such a prominent figure, and he doesn't talk an awful lot. He's very selective in the media and who he talks to and how much he gives away and how much he reveals. It's a very carefully manufactured image. And he came out with all the buzzwords when that initial re-sign came out. I've got it in front of me here. He said, quote, "We dream every day of being the best, and we have dedicated the past decade together to achieving that goal. Being at the top does not happen overnight or over a short period of time. It takes commitment, hard work, and dedication, and it's been an honor to earn our way into the history books of this incredible team. We have never been hungrier to win. We've learned from every success, but also every setback. We continue to chase our dreams. We continue to fight no matter the challenge, and we will again. I'm grateful to the team who supported me both on and off the track. Our story isn't finished. We are determined to achieve more together, and we won't stop until we do." This was 5 months ago.
5 months later. Bye, guys.
Gone early.
Dude just rolled up, said, "Okay, our story does have an end date. It's at the end of the 2024 season."
Well, and what is more of a shock is that either through McLaren as the works team or with Mercedes, he's been here his whole career.
Yeah, he's at Mercedes. Mercedes-powered car since day one in 2007. This is year 17 for Lewis in Formula One. His F1 career started the same year Kevin Durant got drafted in the NBA, which makes me feel very old, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. My bones are scraping each other now. Thanks for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. This is what you get for roasting me at the top of the intro. Now, this is...
My bones are just fine.
I mean,
where do we start? Where do we start?
Where can you start with something like this? My God.
Why don't I just throw something out here? How does this compare to the last bombshell move that Lewis Hamilton made? Because it was just about 11 and a half years ago that Lewis Hamilton, coming up to the end of his McLaren deal, the only F1 team that the only professional racing environment that he'd known at that point, because he'd been a Ron Dennis guy since he was a child in karts. He's having a good season undermined by woeful reliability that arguably took him out of a championship fight with the likes of Sebastian Vettel and Fernando Alonso. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he leaves the only home he's ever known in Formula One and goes to Mercedes-AMG. And at the time, people didn't know what to make of this.
I mean, back in 2013, yes, it was a shocking move, but where McLaren were, yes, they were relatively stagnant, but Lewis was still able to get wins each year. And Mercedes, that was still a really, really young team. It was
one race win to their name at that point.
Yeah. And it's like, for all intents and purposes, their last world championship was 1955.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I was one of the people at the time who called it crazy. I was like, Mercedes are fast, certainly, but they're raw. They didn't have the infrastructure and proven the consistency yet where they could be a title challenger. And McLaren, yes, they had a frustrating season in 2012, but the car was still incredibly fast. And Lewis, on a good day, could, of course, easily win. He had, I think, 18 wins in his career by that point already, before he'd even joined Mercedes, excuse me. And so I thought, like, this is a step back for Lewis. And of course, none of us really knew the juggernaut that Mercedes were cooking up with the hybrids when 2014 came around and started. And Lewis was proven this was the greatest arguable mid-career transition we've ever seen in Formula One, because Lewis's Mercedes numbers are outrageous. 82 wins with the Silver Arrow, 78 pole positions, 6 world championships. When I compare that to this one, I can't help but shake the feeling that Lewis may have been sincere when he signed that extension, but the back end of his 2023 probably started raising serious red flags about the future of Mercedes. I mean, you look at it. Qatar, okay, that was more of a driver error than anything the team had done, but it was still a driver error that Lewis had made. He was disqualified in Austin in a car that was illegal, but it was also probably the closest it had gotten to challenging Red Bull legitimately. Or, well, so we thought. Mexico was great. He was second that day. But in the back end of the year, Brazil, woefully slow. Abu Dhabi, woefully slow. Vegas collapsed with Piastri. It was a rough time to be a Mercedes. I remember doing an article for WTF1 around Brazil where he said he was counting down the days or he didn't have to drive his W14 anymore.
And remember, the 20, when you look at the last 2 years for Mercedes and you contrast Brazil 22, where it was clear, it was in hindsight clearly a false dawn, but they get their first win with what was a very famously difficult car with the W13. And you think, okay, they're starting to kind of get a grip on these regulations. And if anything, they started off without the violent porpoising in 2023, but they were further away. And really, in the back half of this season, despite Red Bull producing no upgrades on their car, and Mercedes doing a couple really major reworks of the W14 to try and get it under control. If anything, they actually bled pace to everyone around them. By the end of the season, there was points where they were the 4th or 5th quickest car.
Yeah.
They were clearly slower than Red Bull all season. And from Japan onwards, Ferrari and McLaren, and at times even still their customer Aston Martin, were giving them a bloody nose.
Yeah. It all adds up to 2 straight seasons without a win for Lewis Hamilton, who
had never gone without a win up to that point during the season. 2 in a row. 7 world championships, first driver over 100 wins. You hear he was knighted by the United Kingdom. He's now officially Sir Lewis Hamilton. Kind of a big deal this guy is. And as he is now firmly in the sunset of his career, he probably realizes that, whether he is extra motivated to get the one that got away or not, he realizes, I don't have many more opportunities to, fight for wins and fight for championships at this level. And I think he wanted to try something different as his final chapter. I liken it to LeBron James going to the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron at that point had proven all that he needed to. He won a championship with the Heat, and then he went back home to his home team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he won a championship. Obviously, Lewis and Hamilton had not taken similar career paths, but this is Hamilton's LeBron with the Lakers chapter. It feels like a last throw of the dice to claim that 8th title.
But the thing is, when you obviously it isn't a perfect analogy, but someone like LeBron going to another basketball team can have a dramatic impact on their performance. This is more comparative culturally and competitively to someone going to the New York Yankees, where you can do a lot as an individual, but the entire direction of the franchise kind of depends on the system as a whole.
And that's where we get to the other factor, the Scarlet factor in all of this, because he didn't go to a fledgling Mercedes building a monster. towards the new regulations. He went to the hottest, biggest, most famous mess on the entire grid. Scuderia
the
Ferrari. Enrico Cardil's House of Kinematics, as I now call it.
It's going to be fascinating. And I'm going to say a bold statement here. I think this is the strongest driver pairing an F1 team has had since 2007. I really do. I think this is an incredible... Like, Charles Leclerc is a top 3 driver on the grid right now, and Hamilton is arguably number 1 in some people's eyes. And there's an argument he could still make, given strength of car. Like, this is the most hyped prospect we've seen in years in Charles, alongside arguably the greatest ever. In a Ferrari. Like, the amount of red merchandise that's going to be sold over the next year and a half is going to be obscene.
Dude, yeah, that's another thing, because, like, there are a lot of, like, really outstanding drivers, but Lewis Hamilton, as a public figure in motorsport, he's on an entirely different level. And, you know, it always helps that Ferrari is willing to splash the cash. I've heard so many outrageous
there are many
figures for his annual salary.
There is a gargantuan amount of zeros.
I've heard numbers around the range of 100 million a year, including endorsements and big investments into Mission 44, his diversity improvement charity as well. Because apparently John Elkann's a big fan of trying to enhance the Hamilton empire, as it was quoted in Italian media, which is quite the phrase. I mean, yes, I've argued it on this podcast many a time. Hamilton's transcendent. He is beyond the confines of F1's popularity. I know so many fans who dropped off the wagon of the Hamilton wagon after 2021, when Hamilton was no longer the title contender that we've known him to be for so many years.
For a decade, pretty much.
A decade and a half, nearly. I mean, pretty much a decade and a half of him being a top end. I mean, he's been nothing other than an elite driver his entire career. That doesn't happen in Formula One, where he was a top 3 driver in the world for 15 years. That just doesn't happen. And now he's in the biggest brand of them all, the biggest brand name of them all, the fan that... I mean, when Sebastian Vettel made that statement all those years ago in 2018, I think he was ultimately right when he said, everyone's a Ferrari fan, even if they say they're not there forever. And because and I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I'm always of the belief the sport is a lot more interesting when Ferrari is up there and winning.
Yeah, and I mean, I
have sat through some years in the early 2000s where I have thought that was explicitly not the case.
Yeah, that is a much more recent opinion to have. And personally, to quote a great movie in Grand Prix, I think you should go to hell.
You're saying, King?
And yeah, from Ferrari's perspective, for them, this is a win. Like, they won without even having to win a race.
You have Hamilton for at least 2 years guaranteed at the peak of his popularity, at the point where he's now a transcendent fashion icon, influencer, celebrity, one of the most recognizable athletes in the world now. And now he's in your brand and in your colors. It doesn't get much bigger than that.
Oh,
it's like when Michael saved Ferrari in the 90s.
Because it feels weird because it is no longer a thing. But back in the good old days of checks notes just before the pandemic, Ferrari got paid a bonus just for showing up. And it was for stuff like this.
Right. This is box office. This is the sort of shit you write movies and books about. The amount of journalists that have written long-form articles, me included, motorsport101.com. But it's vast, and I remember you joking about this, Key, because I know you obviously tracked Jalopnik's stats. You were watching the clicks roll in when the news became official, didn't you?
Yeah, I was watching the clicks roll in. Unfortunately, more people were actually interested in Chip Ganassi running over a dog, which is wild, but that's a whole different, car people are weird thing.
We're not even touching that in this episode.
No.
what I've heard is another, because the other element of this as well is Lewis Hamilton is going to be a wholesale Ferrari brand ambassador. And that was supposed to be Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes basically until long after he retired. There was a proposal.
I'd say in terms of that, things can change because the same thing happened with Fangio when Mercedes had to leave and he went to Ferrari for a year and then noped out.
You know what this is like? This is like if Lightning McQueen got the Dynaco sponsorship at the end of Cars 1. I can't take credit for that because somebody else came up with that Photoshop, but I showed this to my partner and she was like, I get it. This is what this is like now.
Yeah. This is A-Rod joining the Yankees. This is just what it feels like right now. And it's like Derek Jeter is putting the pinstripes on him. It's that scene all over again. You already had the superstar driver in your team. And I was like, here, we have another. It's terrifying.
I'm terrified that you mentioned that analogy because that immediately conjures up how combustible Jeter and A-Rod's relationship was in New York, and King can tell you about 100%. That a lot better than I can.
I mean, yeah,
I feel like everyone in the northeastern United States is aware.
Oh yeah, we saw the pictures. We read the articles. We know of A-Rod driving to Jeter's house to apologize for books and statements.
That was before they were teammates, man. I'm just thinking, like, because the first thing that comes to everybody's mind is like, well, when push comes to shove, who's going to be the alpha dog at Ferrari now?
Yeah, go on, King. Yeah.
Well, Lewis has been on the other side of this back in 2007. Now he's the elder statesman with the hotshot young driver. Is it going to play out the same?
Well,
I don't know. It's hard to tell.
How do you view like the last couple of years of Hamilton versus Russell? Because that was supposed to be the litmus test of now Hamilton's getting a real challenge from a young up and coming prospect of the system. Are they going to be able to work together?
The thing is,
and they mostly did.
The thing is, Russell's a good driver. Don't get me wrong, but he's not Charles Leclerc.
No, he's not, and that's the interesting part. Like I said, this team now has two of the three best drivers in the world in it, and Charles is, in my opinion, a cut above George Russell. Charles Leclerc has been him at Ferrari from pretty much day one. He usurped Sebastian Vettel out of that team, a team where Vettel was beloved by the time that Leclerc had rolled up there. He convinced a lot of his naysayers that he wasn't just an Adrian Newey merchant. This guy can spearhead multiple teams, can lay down multiple title challenges in a same car. And then Leclerc came in there and beat the brakes off him. And that is what's going to, for me, that's fascinating about this. I don't know what's going to happen when those two partner up. It's going to be Lewis Hamilton's age 40 season. And Fernando Alonso has been walking proof you can still be an elite driver in F1 deep into your 40s, because he did that very much this year with Aston Martin. He was incredible. I'm not sure if Lewis is going to be the same way. Everybody is different. We just don't know how people age and develop, and who knows. But Charles is him. Charles is an incredibly fast driver, and I don't know if anybody was reading like stories going into the off season, but the impression that I was getting was that Ferrari was just about ready to pull the trigger and make Leclerc the team leader. The development, the late floor upgrade in Japan,
a gargantuan contract.
Yeah, just a few days before this all went down, he signed an extension that took him to 2028, and we're thinking, oh man, Charles Leclerc signed himself to be in terminal pain up to the start of his 30s.
Well, if you think about it, given all the pain that Lewis has been handing out to Ferrari over the years, it's only right that Ferrari now return the favor.
I saw that from Shane Bear. Good to see you back,
Bear, you are a legend for that.
Dude, I cannot believe that the Andretti news was what made our good friend Stewart come out here like Austin coming out to confront WCW and ECW in the invasion. Oh, he's walking, he's talking, he's tweeting.
It's going to be a fascinating head-to-head because, like I said, it has been Charles's team since 2019. By all accounts, this is we're coming up to year 6 of him at Ferrari. It's been his baby, and I think last season was the year that cemented his number one status over Carlos Sainz, who is now unemployed. We'll get to him in a moment. But it's just become Leclerc's baby. The development path was going back towards him. He's just signed another 4-year extension, probably on stupid money. He's the handsome, multi-talented face of Ferrari, and now this has happened. And look, they've joked together. They've done combined Instagram posts. They seem to get along pretty well for now. But Hamilton and Rosberg got along really well until they were teammates and they realized, oh shit,
5 minutes.
We're the only two guys that can win a championship. Let's beat the piss out of each other. And I don't know how this is going to get down because, as King said, Hamilton and Russell were largely able to coexist, but George ain't Charles. I don't know how you guys feel about it though.
We'll see. I think the one thing that really comes to mind is that I think back to 2021, not the thing that everybody thinks about when you think about 2021 and the possible catalyst for this move way down the road. But I was thinking, like, I had heard people say that, like, if Hamilton had lost that championship under different circumstances, then it would prove that he's not really the best of all time, that he can't really adapt to, building a top team. He was McLaren's golden boy, and then he was part of the Mercedes juggernaut. If he goes on and wins a third championship, and I'm making no presumptions over what is going to happen over these 2 coming years, but if he somehow wins a championship at Ferrari, with his third different constructor,
it's over.
It's over.
There is no arguments left. Yeah, there isn't. I already think he's the greatest of all time, but there'll be zero arguments left if he, in his 40s, won a world title at Ferrari, and Ferrari's first world title in what would be 17 years by the time that Hamilton got to the end of 25. At best case scenario.
The thing is that you're putting a gargantuan amount of faith in Ferrari here because they haven't won a title in 17 years.
That's the other thing too.
Yeah,
why?
Every Ferrari has, in recent times, has never looked at a title challenge they haven't whipped into the trash.
Fernando
with the
Alonso,
force of an Ultra Instinct Saiyan.
Sebastian Vettel, Charles Leclerc.
Well,
it's been rough.
Can we even call the 2022 one a title fight when it imploded a third of the way through the season?
Just like their power units did.
Yeah, just to note a recent article I wrote for Jalopnik, pretty much every recent world champion, except for one dude, wasn't able to turn Ferrari around.
Who was that one dude?
Michael Schumacher.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
different gravy.
Yeah, because the problem is the guys sitting on the other side of all of this, watching and laughing.
And that's Max.
Because Mercedes and Ferrari were the two sides of the same coin, getting their ass demolished in 2023 by a team that did no upgrades after the summer break.
There is a good chance that none of this actually matters from a competitive standpoint by the time it's all said and done.
It all depends on who Hamilton can convince to bring with him. I mean, if I'm Lewis Hamilton, I'm just like, does Peter Bonington have an exit clause?
Because I think a huge component of it is who nails. I think 25 is going to be very much like the last move. Lewis went to Mercedes in 2013. The car itself, a bit better than it was in the previous years. They got a couple wins. It never saw a set of tires that didn't turn into bubblegum, though. And then in 2014, they ran the field over. They nailed the regulations. This is the same.
Yeah, everyone realizes that the real race, it's the race for 26. Who can be the hottest out the gates for the rule change?
Yep, that's how this has always worked. And Lewis is on 2 years at least, so that will take him to the end of 2026, his age 41 season, and that's the key battle here. And whoever comes out of the gates first with a new regulation set generally wins for a little while.
They win a lot over a while.
Mercedes won for quite a long while.
Yeah.
Just win until the next time they change the rules.
Yeah,
it's kind of sick like that.
Like, we go into this season in 2024 wondering, so can Red Bull actually get that one black mark off of the scorecard this year?
Curse you, Singapore.
And just that, I mean, Ferrari did win a race in 2023, but on current competitive form and based on what the chassis departments can produce,
I mean, let's be real. They just let go of the dude who won that race.
They just let go of the dude who won that race,
right?
In very intelligent fashion. But at the same time, you just went to a team whose technical director just said suspension can only have an effect if it's bad.
Yeah,
Enrico Cardil should not have a job.
Yeah, it's Ferrari are still Ferrari, and I know RJ talked about who Hamilton can convince to come over, but that's just the problem. You're asking people to relocate countries. It's not like in the UK where you could just move across the Midlands where most of the F1 teams are based. You're talking about
you're not even moving across the Midlands most of the time. You're just commuting to a new workplace.
Right, it's just like, Grove's just down the road. Isn't that wonderful? No, like we were talking about upping sticks and moving countries. James Allison did that years ago. Yeah,
you're moving from the mecca of Formula One at the moment.
Yeah, and James Allison, for example, did that a few years back with going from Mercedes to Ferrari, and he ended up coming back home again a few years later, and he openly admitted he got terribly homesick about it, which is completely understandable. So it's a foreign country.
Man, Midlands ain't that great.
Midland.
We're gonna get emails.
Direct your emails to f1.com.
No, I could take the heat. It's rking@jalopnik.com. Come find me.
Oh my god!
Let's go.
You're gonna get a whole load of angry emails by people from Yorkshire.
Now, you can't tell me that just moving to not northern Italy, like central Italy, is worse than living in the Midlands.
But King, you got to remember, and you would know because you used to live here in this country. You used to live in my city. We English are culturally ignorant. We are not down to move countries and learn the language and shit like that. Like we are not built for this.
Fair.
I trust me. Peter Bonington is not up in sticks and learning Italian. I promise you that. I will put good money on it.
And the crux of all of this right now is that, well, we can't see the future. We don't know who's going to nail the fairly substantially redesigned power units for 26. What I do know is that it is a move from a team that just entered a major rebuild to a team that's 1 year into a major rebuild.
Right.
Yeah, it's a win now move.
It's a last throw of the dice. Because if Ferrari produce a power unit on the level of the last new generation power unit they made, the man may just disappear and never show his face again, along with most of that team, given half of the 2014 Ferrari technical staff have never been seen again.
Right.
Now,
he's sharing beds with horses' heads.
I don't
walking into an empty room.
I don't want to shift the conversation. We're talking about 26, and he left the team. The morale can't be high at Mercedes right now.
Well, he wasn't the only departure. I mean, the guy's name blanked my mind, but like Loic Serra was the catalyst, according to some sources, of this all happening. Serra was the former head of Mercedes vehicle performance. He's now expected to come to Ferrari, and the reason why both he and Hamilton are leaving is because they were concerned about the direction of Mercedes cars going forward.
I was going to make this point as well. I mean, King, I think, is spot on the nose, and I think it will transition nicely to what Mercedes are going to do next here. I mean, as King alludes to, morale can't be great. You came off winning 8 straight Constructors' Championships through 2021. You clearly weren't that bothered by Abu Dhabi and the result of that, because Toto Wolff could be seen being carried up in the air while you were celebrating your 8th championship, so much so that you had to clout it off social media by DMing people about it. I remember how Abu Dhabi played out, right? You won 8 constructors straight. 7 of them were drivers' titles on top of that. And now you've gone to 1 win in the last 2 years. And now your star driver, your beating heart, the magnum opus of your brand, and everything that comes with it. Because let's be honest, by comparison, George Russell is a Peaky Blinders cosplayer. After all of this, your star driver's now gone.
Yeah, Mercedes star driver is left, and that was just Raffaele Marcello.
We love the hammer. We love the hammer around here. No, but point is that Hamilton's now gone. George Russell's leading your team. You've got an open seat for 2025 now. To be fair, you've got some time to potentially work out who you want in that other seat. But morale can't be great. You've had 1 win in the last 2 years. I heard off the shelf from people that the Christmas party was cancelled this year over the season and underperforming. No one was really happy about just narrowly squeaking second.
I mean, Trey, they still had the energy to go paintballing up when the day that Lewis told everybody he was heading out.
I think that's called getting out. That is some pent up aggression.
he's fucking sniping dudes like it's which Call of Duty? Which is the one that y'all like? Because I never played Call of Duty.
Give me some World at War.
I would settle for the original Modern Warfare 2 personally, but yes. I mean, if you're Mercedes, where do you go from here? Because you've got 1 more year of Lewis. I've not heard a single person with their full chest come out and think that the W15 is going to be a title contender. Morale was up briefly when they said, it sounds and goes like a car again, said Anthony Davidson, let alone talking about a title contender.
Where is the bar?
Subterranean.
From the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's never a good sign when it's like, oh my God, guys, they built a car.
It has 4 wheels.
Yeah,
oh
you've been building these since 1886. You're not special.
It has a monocoque structure, and oh my God, I think it's even got front and rear wings.
And it's turbocharged. What?
You could have fooled me. I almost had the shock of my life. This one always comes back with like idle conversation. This was M101 lore. The Jaguar super van.
Yeah.
That might be faster than the W13 around some tracks.
Man.
God. I mean, we got to talk about the hole that they got to fill driver-wise. And they've got 1 more year of Lewis. They've got time.
I imagine that phone is ringing, given where a few very high-profile names are on the grid.
Are people thinking about triggering their own exit closets from contracts they just recently signed?
You have to think so.
You might think so, but there's going to be some names floating out there. Fernando Alonso is a free agent at the end of this season. Esteban Ocon is a free agent.
Don't put me full of that, Hopi. I know that ain't happening.
Esteban Ocon's a free agent. Sergio Perez is a free agent at the end of the year. No.
Ocon will be coming home in a sense. Alex Albon, of course, being George Russell's longtime friend, would be a contender. I mean, why not just swap Carlos Sainz and Lewis Hamilton across places?
Let me give you 3 good reasons.
I like Carlos, but I don't. Is he what Mercedes needs? Question of all, is Toto Wolff came out this morning and told selected media that George Russell's going to be their number 1 driver going forward, which, okay, fair enough. I've got no issue with that. He's proven that on a good day he can be Lewis level quick. But is that the future of the team? Are they going to go established veteran in the second seat? Because, again, Fernando's name's been floated out there. Ocon's been around F1 for a good while now. Toto still manages him. Alex Albon doesn't seem like a pretty bad move. Cam, who are you calling down there?
Valtteri.
No.
It's James.
We're not doing this again.
You up?
Setting who up, Jets. Valtteri going back to Williams.
That would
James
be the absolute silliest outcome. Well, there does exist another.
Are we ignoring the junior driver elephant in the room here?
We'll get there.
The person who some of our Discord server describes as the second coming.
Well, not just our Discord, not just our Discord server, but other people in the sport. But like, let's go through the established candidates.
Yeah, King, who do you reckon?
So, I think the first person we should talk about is the first person that Toto Wolff has says, no, we are not getting. Toto Wolff has already actively said, I spoke to him, and I don't think he's going to return to racing.
Seb is not coming back. Seb is not coming back, King. Yeah. Don't you put that evil on me.
Yeah, that's right. Don't
just one more year, King. Just one more year.
One more year.
Nobody needs to give me hopium that Fernando Alonso is going to jump straight in Mercedes and win a title in his 40s. Everybody else does not need another year of Sebastian Vettel hopium. It's done.
Hey, King. Listen to me. Hear me out here for a minute. F1 is a nasty, horrible, toxic place at the best of times. We need some cleansing. We all love Sebastian Vettel now as F1's like inherent dad. Let's get Seb back in the car for a year.
But does Seb want to do that?
All I'm going to say is, things turned out perfectly fine when a certain world champion came out of retirement to face Ivan Drago in the ring, right?
Please stop.
Rest in peace to the Greek goal.
Why would you do that?
King.
Why would you do that?
You insensitive bastard.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Let's get this back on the rails.
Let's get back on track.
Not falling off a Pikes Peak.
Sebastian Vettel is not coming back, and I am at peace with that, and everyone else should be too.
Yeah. I'm at peace with the fact that Fernando Alonso is never winning another Formula One race.
Are you sure? Are you sure we should rule out Fernando?
I think a race is not impossible.
At Aston Martin, maybe, but it's not happening to Mercedes because he cannot go into Mercedes.
Are we sure about this? He is a free agent and he is a team hopper. He will do it. If
remember the last time Fernando Alonso was in a Mercedes-powered car?
It went well, didn't it?
Corporate fisticuffs.
Just a few. Just a few bobs between friends. How about Alex Albon? Because I've heard Albon's name thrown around an awful lot in the last 24 plus hours or so. He's come a long way since his Red Bull demotion. He's done very solid work with Williams. Was universally regarded as one of the drivers of the year last year. It was 10 in the Autosport top 50 list. Cracked the top 10 on that front. Like, would it be viable to bring Albon over?
The thing with Alex Albon is, yes, he is a much different and better driver than the one that got pushed out of Red Bull at the end of 2020. But I mentioned it. Him and George are good buddies. Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton were good buddies for a while. Those mates rates... They ended up just like JCPenney coupons. Eventually, they were discontinued, and nobody was happy about it.
Now, the driver market is not just a funnel towards Mercedes. If we're talking about 2025, we got to be serious here. There's going to be another big seat available, and it's going to be alongside Max Verstappen. Like,
who wants that poison chalice, baby?
Yeah, like...
Daniel Ricciardo, apparently.
Like, Mercedes might as well be the second place landing stop. Like, Mercedes actually has to compete with someone in the driver market.
It's so crazy.
Honestly, like, I wonder where that also leaves Sainz, because I can't expect he'll be off the grid entirely.
No,
he's too good not to be. Like,
everybody and their siblings are out here, like, already putting him in the new Audi project because his dad drives for Audi, but he's not going to any longer, and we don't know what Audi F1 is going to look like in 2026.
Hopefully better than Sauber currently looks.
Excuse me, that is very steak low enough. F1 team
Go,
kick.
And I cannot stress this enough. Straight to hell.
I'll be sure to take my photos with Mr. McMahon while I'm there.
Oh, get out. No, I mean, it's hard not to immediately put Sainz as the favourite for a big long-term investment. He's 29 right now. It'll be the ideal age to kick off the back end of his prime, joins a big German factory effort to join a team. It's hard not to, because I don't see where he fits in between. But until then, because we obviously know Sauber's a bottom-end team right now, as we know it. There's not, I mean, unless something drastic happens in the midfield, I don't see anybody else opening up a spot. Like, McLaren's got their two guys pinned down till 2026 at least.
Yeah. Lando Norris signing his new extension really messed this all up, because he'd be like perfect one-to-one replacement, no notes.
Yeah, and Lando's got his faith in the brand and his merry crew of content creators, so he's staying at McLaren for the foreseeable future. I still think Ocon is being slept on here, but the problem is Ocon ever going to be anybody's first guy in the queue?
Yeah. Is Ocon better than Gasly?
I don't know. They were close last year.
Depends which one hits the other.
Like, that's the problem. Like, Ocon his stock's kind of gone down in the last couple of years, because the second year of his Alpine run with Alonso, he was on the losing end of that head-to-head, and then this year, Gasly came in and held his own against him, which probably is the worst advertisement for Ocon, that, well, you lost out in the long run to Nando, and then Gasly's come in first year and held his own, which is not great when you're in a no-man's land kind of team. So I think Sainz will likely end up, either maybe taking a sabbatical year or just joining the artists formerly known as Sauber, maybe in 25 until the full-blown Audi deal kicks in 2026, maybe. Because it's hard for me to envision him elsewhere, and I don't think Merckx would take him.
So I think we should talk about Andrea Antonelli. Mercedes' top single-seater prospect, going to Formula 2 this year, already as a presumptive title favorite, skipping over Formula 3 after winning the Formula Regional title out in Europe. He's 17, he turns 18. I believe it's this year is his age 18 season?
Yes.
Christ almighty, we have 2006 babies all over the shop of motorsport. Connor Zilic, Juju Noda, now Andrea Antonelli. It's crazy.
Connor Zilic walking into a shop with a Rolex and having it be called fake.
Though, this being his age 18 season means that Andrea Kimi Antonelli will be old enough to compete in Formula 1 in 2025, should the opportunity present itself.
King, I have a question.
Yes.
Do you trust Mercedes to make such a bold move? Because they let George Russell sit a layover at Williams for probably a year too long, and when they had the opportunity to put Pascal Wehrlein alongside Lewis Hamilton in 2017, they went like, we want the veteran presence of Valtteri Bottas instead.
Now, Mercedes-Benz in 2017, 18, and 19 is not the Mercedes of today. Their back is against the wall, and they have nothing to lose.
But it's all the same people. It's a lot of the same people leading the charge.
It's a whole lot less success to find for it.
Yeah. If Antonelli shows up at Mercedes and underperforms, how badly could it be compared to, you finished 10th instead of 4th? Like, we're not fighting for wins anymore, which is wild to even say.
Yeah,
I'm not entirely ruling it out, but I need to see a press release and a picture that says Andrea Antonelli is making his debut with Mercedes before I believe it's going to happen. Because what I've learned about Mercedes, and it's pretty much every top team other than Red Bull, like Ferraris and Tories, for like, we will hardly ever take a gamble on youth unless it's just like it's Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, and we're in that scenario right now.
Right. Like, and Andrea Kimi Antonelli's junior record is astonishing.
So is George Russell's.
Not really. And you make not even George was this highly touted coming through F2, because he was in a mess with Lando Norris and Alex Albon and Nick DeVries at the same time.
He still won the Formula 2 championship as a rookie off the back of winning the F3 title as a rookie.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not disputing that, but the problem with George was he was spread amongst three people amongst the British Hype's headlines. He didn't get touted like Leclerc did because the 2019 class was stacked. That
doesn't make his results not his results, though.
No, it does, but even then,
Right now, Antonelli is in Everest in Kansas. It is barren land out there right now, and this dude is putting up record numbers.
But that's the point. The thing is, right, I get both arguments here. On the one hand, even George Russell, who was an S-tier prospect, had to do 3 years at Williams before he got the opportunity. On the other hand...
The thing is with that, though, too, is that it still looked like he wasn't going to get the opportunity, and then they had to plug him into the Mercedes, and for most of that race, he beat the brakes off of their full-timer.
Honestly, I think Mercedes leadership are in a position where they've been through this before. There's been a generational talent that they had the chance to sign, but lost a bidding war for him because they didn't want to offer him an F1 seat. Now, the guy they lost is a 3-time world champion.
And I was going to make
at
the
their
point.
expense.
I was like, I was just on the Engine Braking podcast with Dan, aka Engine Mode 11, who used to work at Red Bull, and he had it on very good authority that Merckx tried again in 2016, and that's why Verstappen got promoted to Red Bull immediately, because Red Bull was so shit scared they were going to lose Max. They had to take drastic action, and Kvyat's Russian crash, which went viral, was the perfect alibi to dump his ass. And they were going to lose Max otherwise. And Red Bull were like, no, we've got to promote him, otherwise we're going to lose him. And that's kind of how I feel about Kimi Antonelli, in the sense of he is stupid good. If he is anywhere near what we think he could be, if Mercedes don't promote him, somebody else likely will. Someone else will likely take a chance on someone like that, because he's
could very possibly be Red Bull.
Yeah, because they have 4 seats and 2 drivers who could be outgoing.
So fucked up.
Time is a flat circle, baby.
Could you imagine?
Poor Liam Lawson.
Because the thing is, if you're at Red Bull and you want to smooth over this whole Visa Cash App thing, Italian driver at Italian team, we're good here.
Why?
Unfortunately, I regret to inform you that Tim Goss is designing the car, and nothing will come good of this.
No, but that's the thing. Like, if you're making a play for Andrea Antonelli, why stuff him in Faenza? Why not bring him straight up to Milton Keynes?
Red Bull, don't do that.
Because Red Bull have the dominant
Red Bull will
car.
give him a trial run.
Yeah, it's again. Red Bull are in the position where Mercedes were when they didn't give Verline a chance, where they have the dominant car. They're winning. They don't really have to risk anything.
Yeah, if they really wanted to and Mercedes don't promote him, they could plug him into the artist formerly known as insert Italian name here for half a year.
You could easily make the analogy that Mercedes are in the situation where Red Bull was when they signed Verstappen.
Yeah, it's like a placeholder. That's kind of the point I made on Twitter when I was asked about this earlier today, where I was like, well, who do you think Merckx will take? Are they going to promote Mick Schumacher? And I'm like, oh, poor Mick. Especially after Toto said last year, if Lewis Hamilton had avocado poisoning, because he doesn't eat meat, if he had avocado poisoning, we could plug Mick Schumacher in tomorrow, and they're not going to do that now, which I think is very funny.
Because, as much as we say F1 is raced season by season in terms of car development, when you do have the car capable of winning the championship, you already need to have the driver in place to take full advantage of that car.
Right, and Mick's not that guy. I mean, that's the way I see it. I mean, if Kimi Antonelli is anything like advertised, and I'm talking even if he's top 3, let alone winning the title, because I think Ollie Behrman probably is favourite going in, right? But even so, like, why bother signing a placeholder guy like Alex Albon when we know Kimi Antonelli is going to be the future of your team and franchise going forward? Like, cut out the middleman. Just plug him in as an 18-year-old and say, fuck it, as a development year. You know, you've got George Russell. That's a good insurance policy to have as a number one driver. He's good enough to lead that team, in my opinion, if he cuts out a little bit of the racecraft nonsense. I think the speed on Russell is outstanding. He's good enough to lead that team. You can take a gamble on the second seat.
You could. I want to see it announced first.
Which is fair.
Again,
I need to see a body.
Again, if we make a comparison, how long did we have to wait for the official announcement that Lewis was leaving, to the point we all knew he was leaving before the announcement happened?
I'd say it was a couple hours. It was a couple hours.
It was like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah,
T minus 18 hours from him first driving the W15 in the sim.
Yeah, Jesus.
Okay.
And, I mean, that covers just about everything from this move as we know of so far. And, of course, we had to sit down for this emergency podcast to talk about it. Don't worry, before we get out of here, the Daytona episode is coming out later this weekend. It is cooked, ready to go. It's just, I was going to put the switch on it. Sorry you've had to wait a couple of days longer. As you can understand, something came up. But before we get out of here, just put it up in a sentence or two, just your overall vibes and feelings on this cataclysmic move before we get out of here. RJ, you first.
In one sentence, I'm just here to see how the ride develops. I'm just here to see how this ride goes.
King?
Oh, man. That's the starting gun. The race to 2026 starts now.
Cam?
May God have mercy on his soul.
For me, this is your transcendent Formula One sporting moment. The most popular driver in the sports history driving for its most recognizable team. Let the games begin. I've been Dre Harrison. They've been Cam Buckley, RJ O'Connell, and Ryan Eric King. You can find King over at jalopnik.com. Please do support his work. We'll be back to talk a little bit about the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona and some other 11th team not quite making the grid yet later this weekend. But until then, thank you very much for listening. Sayonara.
Later, y'all.
Bye.
If you're a Tifosi, pray to your God to grant you mercy, because Ferrari will not.
Now, I'm not saying he did a Shohei, but, the sport missed out an opportunity. Lewis could have done a TV special. We could have got something out of this.